Hello, welcome back. This is Dr. Christopher Gennari. This is the Great Big History Podcast. And in this episode, we do Hebrew military defeats, Canaanite military defeats. And so we start with the generations after Solomon. His kids and then his grandkids didn't get along so well. And what happened is Israel, the kingdom of Israel, Solomon's kingdom of Israel, not modern Israel, not the modern state, but the kingdom of Israel, cracked and broke in half. But not equally in half. And you have the kingdom of Israel, you have Israel in the north, and then you have a new kingdom, Judah, in the south. And they're not equal. They're not the same. They're not even remotely alike. Israel is cool. Israel is the cool cousin. And I'm sure you have all had younger brothers or sisters or cousins that you think are totally uncool, and your mom or your auntie is like, look, just take them out. They got to get out. They have no friends. Be good to them. Just take them out. Take them out with your friends. And you're like, oh, I don't want to. They're so uncool. And they're like, I don't care. You got to take them. All right, fine. That's Israel. Israel is cool. Israel is richer or more urbanized. There's more towns, villages, cities. Not Jerusalem big. There's only one Jerusalem. But the cities that they have are 5,000 people, which is a typical size of a city. Maybe 8,000 people. There's nothing approaching Babylon. But they're more urbanized. People live in these towns and these cities. It's more populous. More people live there. Literally 10 of the 12 tribes live in Israel. It's more sophisticated because it's more tapped in to those Babylonian, Mesopotamian, Phoenician trade networks. It's more Mesopotamian. It's more down with the cool kids. Judah, on the other hand, is the opposite of all of that. It's more rural. It's more religious. It's less populated. It's less sophisticated. It's less Mesopotamian. It's the opposite of all of those things because it's not jacked in. Mesopotamian trade networks go around them. If you're on the video, there's a map of those trade networks literally going around Judah. Now, Judah has Jerusalem, which is actually one reason why Judah is more traditional. It's got the religious center, and so it's more religious than the more urbanized Israel. Religion is a more potent political force in Judah than it is in Israel, because Israel's more jacked into world trade. It sees more diversity. It sees more economics. It sees more of the cool stuff people are doing, like the Phoenicians. And so Israel is the cool cousin, and Judah is the uncool cousin. And that's important because when you talk about foreign relations, foreign affairs, Israel is part of it and Judah isn't. So what happens? What's the first major defeat? And that happens around 725 BC, 722, 720, somewhere around 725. We're just going to be kind of round it out and just be even about it. Assyria destroys Israel. Remember the Assyrians? They roll in and destroy Israel. Now why? Well, because Israel was part of the world political network. And so when Babylon starts fighting with Assyria, because they're moving in on Babylon's territory, the Babylonians call up all of their friends. And they call up Israel and they're like, yo, Izzy, we're having a party. We're having a kegger. And we totally want you to be there, man. You got to be there. Everybody's going. Elam's going. Tripoli is going. Even the Egyptians. And I'm not cool. I'm not down with them. But dude, even they're showing up. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a blowout. You got to be there, Izzy. And Israel's like, yeah, man, we'll totally be there. I got to ask though. Dude, what about Assyria? They're like jerks, man. They're like so big jerks. Like look what they're doing to people on the Tigris, man. That's terrible. And Babylon's like, dude. That's the beauty of this. That's the best part of this party. Like, we've invited Assyria. No. It's cool. Because they're going to show up an hour late. And we're all going to jump them. And we're going to beat them up, man. And that's going to be the end of the Assyrians. They'll be back like the old days. Like Hammurabi and stuff, man. It's going to be awesome. Are you in, Izzy? And Izzy's like, dude, man, I like that. That's so cool, man. So cool. But I'm totally in, man. I'm totally in. I'm stoked. But, dude, I have a cousin. You know my cousin, Judah? It's like, yeah, man, I know you got a cousin, Judah. I know. But, dude, Izzy, we want you to come. So if you got to invite Judah, you bring him. It's okay. If Judah's your homeboy, that's okay. As long as you're coming. And Izzy's like, all right, dude, man. I'm going to invite my cuz. We'll come. We'll both be there. It'll be all right. And if my cousin don't want to come, he's a stick in the mud. But it'll be okay, man. I'm on my way. We'll be there. And so Israel calls up Judah. Yo, Judah, man. How you doing? I'm okay. Great. Dude, my cool friend Babylon? Babs totally wants us to come to a party. It's going to be exciting, man. It's going to be awesome. Everybody's going to be there. Oh, that doesn't sound like fun at all. Dude, no, it's going to be awesome. And Mom made sure I got to ask you. So, dude, you want to go? It's going to be fun. Everyone's going to be there. We're going to beat up the Assyrians. It's going to be awesome. No, well, what day is it? Oh, dude, it's like, I don't know, a couple Thursdays from now. It'll be cool. Well, it turns out I already have plans for that day. Really? Well, what are you going to do, man? What are you going to do? Enlighten me. Tell me. What are you going to do? Gonna beat up Moab? Gonna go on a date with, like, someone on the Red Sea? Like, what are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to be really naughty. I'm going to go on Yelp. And I'm going to write reviews. Bad reviews of places I've never been. They have cold buns. You're okay, Jay. You just go do that. That's cool. You be you, man. You do your thing. Cool. All right, have fun. Gotta go. And so Israel is part of this very large contingent that's against Assyria. And that happens. The whole thing happens. There's a war. There's a party. There's a war. It happens. And the Assyrians, rather than being jumped and being beaten up, go all like full Neo. Go full Clint Eastwood and Dirty Harry. Like, beats up everybody. And then goes looking for revenge. Burning down Babylon. Then go rolling through the Phoenician cities. You want a piece of me? You want a piece of me? Hey, you want a piece? And everyone's like hides in their city like, no, man. No. And they roll into Israel and like, you were there. And they obliterate the place. They depopulate the place. They burn everything down. And then they pick the people up who are left and they scatter them to the like sand in the breeze. They put them in different places within the Assyrian Empire. So they depopulate Israel. And you can see this in the archaeology. Like in the archaeology, it suddenly goes from being a vibrant Hebrew civilization to the moon, to nothing. To suddenly, there's not even garbage. And you go, well, that sucks. But no. You have to understand, for archaeologists, garbage is everything. Like you're not Indiana Jones. Like Indiana Jones, you don't get the cool stuff. If you're Indiana Jones, you're looking for the stuff people threw out. Because that tells you it's the stuff they used. So if you find a whole thing full of chicken bones and video game cartridges, you know they ate chicken while playing video games. That tells you something about them. And there's nothing. What is today northern Israel and the West Bank was gone, depopulated, nothing. And the Assyrians will move new people in. That's the Samaritans. They're not Hebrews. They might be a Canaanite speaker. I don't particularly know right now. I don't have my notes in front of me. But the Samaritans are different people. Now they'll become vaguely Jewish. They'll be accepted in. But that's the whole part. That's the Good Samaritan story. You have to understand this. To understand the Good Samaritan story, you have to understand the Samaritans are not Hebrews. The Samaritans are foreigners brought in to replace Hebrews that were murdered by the Assyrians. They're foreigners. So the major part is always lost in the Good Samaritan story because it's all about, oh, you be nice. No, even though, yes, you be nice. But the whole point of that is the man is stuck in the hole. The man is beaten up. He's stuck in the hole, right? And two Jewish men walk by. And they don't help one of their own kind. And it's the foreigner who walks by, who is pitied, who takes pity on the attacked man, the attacked Jewish man. It's the foreigner who is nicer to the Jew than the fellow Jews are. It's a story not about being nice. It's a story about helping your own people. That we have to help ourselves. That Jews, because by this point, by the time the Good Samaritan story is written down, it's Jew. They're still Hebrews, but they now have become Judeans. They have become Jews. And by the time they're talking about, we have to work together, and we're not. We're not helping each other. So that's the Good Samaritan story. You can't understand the Good Samaritan story without understanding the Samaritans are the Assyrian replacement for Jews, for Hebrews. Well, they're not Jews yet. Hebrews. After the Assyrians obliterated that population. This is the 10 lost tribes of Israel. 10 lost tribes, man, is 84%. To put that into perspective, Hitler and the Nazis, in their craziest of crazy dreams, like if they could have murdered every Jewish person they got their hands on, if they could have dreamed the crazy dreams of world genocide, they still could not have done what the Assyrians actually did. Hitler, in his craziest of all dreams, couldn't have dreamt of accomplishing what the Assyrians actually did. This is a massive trauma for those who are left behind. Who are the Judeans? There's no Israelites left. They're gone. And you say, well, wait, Professor, I don't understand. What happened to them? Well, what happened to them was they were bred out. And the Assyrians are not the first people to do this and won't be the last. This is exactly what the Romans were doing when the Romans obliterate Jerusalem and blow up Judea or Palestine in 70 AD. The idea is you pick up these people. They're a problem. So you scatter them. You take 5 and you put them in that town. And you take 3 and you put them in this town. Now remember, distances are huge. 100 miles might as well be from here to the moon. in this day and age. Like, you didn't leave. You were born, you lived, and you died within 10 miles of the same place. You went to Babylon. If you were an ancient Hebrew and you went to Babylon, you came back, you were like, people's minds were blown. That's why you get stories like the Tower of Babel story, because people couldn't comprehend what Babylon was like. They can only do it through metaphor and stories. So people came back and they're like, dude, Babylon is so big, so tall, that the buildings reach God's front door. And they're like, that's crazy. That's too big. Oh, they have so many languages. How many languages do they have? It's a babel of languages. It's crazy. Like, Babylon became Babel because of all the languages. And they're like, I don't understand how they could talk to each other. And I know, right? So the stories of Babylon are metaphors because they can't comprehend it, because most people don't have experience with it. And so what you do if you're the Assyrians, you're like, these people are a problem. I'm going to pick them up, I'm going to scatter them. Well, now you're a Hebrew boy. You're 15 years old, right? You're living in a town and you're the only one. You're the only Hebrew. Well, what do you want to do? What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? You're not going to go anywhere. You're going to try to make a living in this new town. Fine. Now, what do you have? You've got your skills to try to make a living. You've got your Hebrew culture, your Hebrew language. That's what you got. That's all you've got. Your Hebrew money ain't worth anything because you're now living in the Assyrian Empire. So what are you going to do? Well, what you want to do is start a business and start a family. And that family is going to help you start the business. Like, if your skill is in metallurgy, if you were a blacksmith apprentice, right, in the old town in Samara, well, you've got that skill. So you're going to go to the blacksmith and you'll be like, hey, I was an apprentice back in my old town. Can I be an apprentice for you? Can I work for you? Like, you don't have the money to start your own business, so you have to start as an apprentice. And the guy says, yeah, I need a guy. Sure, I need a guy. And the dude, he happens to have a daughter. And so if you're not a jerk, a couple years, you married a daughter. Like, you from the very beginning start going, dude, I'm totally going to marry this guy's daughter, because if I marry the daughter, I get the shop. Because he's going to want an apprentice who can take care of his daughter and keep the business going when everybody dies at around 45 years of age. So this is the best deal. Otherwise, I got to go find somebody else. And so I'm going to marry the blacksmith's daughter. This is how things work. Johnny Tremaine is the silversmith who works with Paul Revere and all that. If you ever read the Johnny Tremaine, he's going to marry the silversmith's daughter. Or I've actually forgotten that story. Maybe the silversmith is a terrible human being and he won't, but he should. That's the idea. An apprentice will eventually, if you're really good, marry into the family to keep both the business going and the family going. So this guy, he gets a job as a blacksmith as an apprentice. In a couple years, he marries the daughter when he shows he's not a jerk and he can do the job. But the wife is an Assyrian. She's cool. She speaks Assyrian. She dresses Assyrian. She celebrates Assyrian holidays. She's not going to become Hebrew because the Hebrews lost, man. They got defeated. They got crushed. Why would she want to be that? They're losers. So she's going to stay, Assyrian. And she'll be like, hey, on your free time, you could do whatever you want, man. I love you. You're a wonderful person. You're the father of our children, but you're not cool. But you're a good blacksmith, and you're a good provider, and I'm glad I married you. So he's going to do his holidays and his prayers. He's going to have his little thing. But he can't, there's no other Jews to hang out with. They're not Jews yet. There's no other Hebrews to hang out with. And you have to understand, when I say that they're not Jews yet, there's a process that happens. And we're talking about that process now. We're at the start of that process. And that changes ancient Hebrews, Israelites, into essentially ancient Jews. And there's a process. And so I'm trying to be as exact. I'm not insulting. I'm not derogatory at all. They're going to be the same thing, but it's grandpapa's culture to the kids, to grandson's culture. You have to understand they're the same, but they're different. You are different than your great grandfather, even if you have the same name and maybe the same eye shape. You're still you, and you're different. And so I'm trying to be as exact as possible, and so I keep slipping, and I'm sorry for that. But at this point, we're talking about ancient Hebrews, Israelites. They are not yet Jews, which would indicate that they're related culturally. They look like our modern people of the Jewish faith, and they're not yet. They're too far away. We'll get there. We are on our way. This is the lecture where we are literally going to turn Israelites into Jews, Hebrews into Jews. So you're a young man, so you get married, and you're uncool, and you're going to do your little Jewish faith things, and your Hebrew faith things, and your Israelite faith things, right? And you'll keep the Friday. You'll keep Friday. That's Muslim. You'll keep the Saturday Sabbath, and people will think that's really weird. They're like, "Why are you closed on Saturday, man? Everything else is open." I don't understand, but then you'll be open on the weird times when they're like, "Dude, the corn festival's going on. Why are you open? Everybody's closed. Like, makes no sense, right?" So you're weird in town, but you do a good job. People like you, but you're different, and you're a foreigner. And now you have kids, and you have 3, 4, 5 kids, right? Now, your kids are going to go to school because you want the best for them. So their mom is Assyrian. So they're half Assyrian. So what school do they want to go to? Well, there's no Hebrew school to go to, so they're going to go to Assyrian school, where they're going to hang out with Assyrian kids. And how are they going to want to act? What games are they going to want to play? What language are they going to want to speak? What's their homework going to be written in? It's all going to be Assyrian. And they're going to think Assyrians are cool, and they're going to look at you and be like, "Dad, why are you so uncool? Why do you do such weird things?" And you'll be like, "Dude, because like I got to teach you about your dad's half." And they'll be like, "Dude, yeah, no. And then they're going to marry. Your kids are going to marry. And who are they going to marry? Well, they want to be cool, so they're going to marry Assyrian girls or Assyrian boys. And then they're going to have Assyrian kids. And those grandkids are now 25% Hebrew genetically, but not culturally. Because both of their parents are Assyrian culturally. Their grandma is Assyrian culturally. They have a weird granddad who does weird things. And they have to go, and you have Hanukkah, and there's a weird chair that's left open. And they're like, "Why is there a chair?" And they're like, "Dude, don't worry about it. I'll explain it to you later. It's something weird my granddad does." And his friends are going to be like, "Dude, this is so weird. It's blowing my mind. What is going on?" And it's like, "Dude, it's all right. It's like something my granddad does. He was like from down south somewhere. I don't know. I mean, there's stories there, but he's weird in the head, man." And they're not going to speak Hebrew. And they're not going to have Hebrew holidays because they want to be cool. And in 100 years, you go from being a vibrant Hebrew Israelite culture to gone. This is what the Romans tried to do. This is what, in some ways, the Greeks tried to do, but though they try to be more violent about it. And this is what the Nazis, in a way, would have preferred to do before the whole murdering of everybody. This is kind of where the 1936 to 1942 space is. Like, put them all in camps, get them away from all the culture, put them in ghettos, separate them out from everybody else, isolate the culture. And then the problem became, like, we were losing the war, so we couldn't, like, just throw them out in Siberia or spread them out. Like, we'll just murder them. And it became policy. But the idea was, like sand in the wind, you just throw it up there and they will disappear. Because there's not the cohesion that keeps them together. This is why if you're an immigrant or a minority, this is why a lot of your parents get real mad if you start dating white kids. Like, whoa, date your own kind. And this is true for Italians. This is true for the Irish back when they were immigrants. It's an immigrant response of, we have to stick together. If we don't, we'll just get absorbed by this larger culture. We will disappear. We will become, in America, it's an act that the sociologist at Princeton, the African-American sociologist at Princeton, Nell Painter, described as becoming white in her book, A History of White People. It's the idea that the white culture just will absorb it all, and you'll stop being what you are. And so that was true for Italians when they moved in. That was true for Jews when they moved in. Still true for Jews. Marrying a Christian is like bad. Grandparents get upset about that. Now they all love you, and they're like, okay, well, we want you to be happy, but there's you really should have married a Jewish girl. You know? So, there's this worry that you get absorbed by the larger culture. This is why the Amish, we live on the edge of the Amish. They stay apart. They stay separate. Because the idea is if they became like Mormons do the same thing. They live in Utah. The idea is if they became part of the regular society, they lose the thing that made them special. They would disappear. They would be absorbed. And that is exactly what happens to the 10 tribes. 84% of the population of Israel, of the Israelite kingdoms, that's what happens. Now, the Assyrians do invade Judea. They do invade Judah. And they roll in 707 to Jerusalem. They lay siege to King Sennacherib, who is mentioned like 5 different books in the Bible. Like he is in the Bible, like all over the place. He is a boogeyman in the Old Testament. He is scaring the bejesus out of people. And he shows up and he's like, dude, were you at that party? No. All right, well, that means we can't beat you up, but if you're going to fight against us, tell us, we're right here. Come. You want to fight against us? No. Are you sure? Because we're going to make you pay a lot of taxes. And don't you hate that? Won't you revolt? No, we're okay paying taxes. We're all right. Yeah, well, we're going to like oppress you and stuff. Okay. Yeah. Come on, come on. Babylon fought against us. Israel fought against us. Egypt fought against us. Come on. You want to fight against us too, right? You'll be the ones who overthrow us. No. We would just want to write reviews on Yelp. I don't even know what that is. All right. Okay, you write reviews on Yelp. You go right ahead, and you're going to pay a lot in taxes. Okay, where do we send it? Can we get the address? Dude, you are the weirdest people. All right, we'll leave, I guess. We're getting everything we want. You're going to give us everything? Yeah, we'll give you everything. Yeah, guys, I know. I promised we would destroy Jerusalem and all get money. But, like, there's rules. Like, they got to at least say no to something. I know. It's crazy. Everybody else. Like, we got our chariots. Do you guys know how much this war cost? We had to come down here. It took a while. Like, there's nothing else down here. I'm sorry. Would you like cookies? Yeah, actually, that would be nice. That would be very nice. We'll take cookies for the drive home. Yes. All right, we're getting the money. So good. Do you have money now? Yeah, here's some money. You pay your army. Sennacherib, our guys are getting sick from the bad water because we're out here in the desert. Oh man, wait. Okay. Well, I guess we'll go. This is the craziest thing. I don't understand. They gave in on every. All right, if you revolt, we'll be back. Okay, but we won't. All right, good. Are the cookies poisoned? No, they have chocolate chips. They're really nice. They're warm. We baked them right now. We were having a fun time. We were going to make s'mores, but we decided on cookies. You are the weirdest people. All right, we're out. All right, back to Assyria, guys. We got some money. I'll pay you all when we get back. I guess this is how this. See you next year. Okay, we'll come up. We'll bring the money. Oh. This is the weirdest thing. All right. And in 707, they lay siege to Jerusalem, and the Judean king pays them off, pays them what they want, and they leave. Like, why destroy a civilization when you get everything you want? They're not fighting, they're not revolting, they're not giving you a reason, and there's not like etched in the laws of war. But at the same time, if they're willing to give you everything you want, why would you go through the effort of killing them? It's just easier to take their money, which is what you want anyway. So Sennacherib leaves, he takes his army, and he goes away. Later on, he goes through on his way to Egypt. He's like, if you guys revolt when I'm in Egypt, I'm going to kill you all. He's like, yeah, okay, you have fun storming the castle. The pyramids are pretty. We didn't build them, but it's okay. Like, the weirdest people. All right, let's keep chugging along. And so the destruction of Israel is a trauma for Judea. It's not a trauma for Israel because Israel's dead. Israel's gone. There's no one to be traumatized. It is a trauma for Judea. Like, one day I'm going to die. My death is not going to be traumatic for me. Why? Because I'll be dead. The dying might be traumatic, but not the death part. I'll be dead. I can't have a reaction to it. So I can't be traumatized to it. I'm dead. My wife, my children, my ancestors, all the people who come after me may be traumatized and be like, oh my God, can I go on? This is terrible. But me, I'm dead. So I can't have a reaction to my own death because I'm dead. So who's traumatized? The Judeans. And they ask a question. Why? Why did this happen? And the answer is a religious answer. Why? Because they're religious people. They got the giant-ass temple, right? They have one God who's supposed to be a good God of rules and laws. And they're like, we have rules. This God is supposed to protect us, and he's the most powerful super God in the whole wide world. So why didn't he protect Israel? Why? And the answer is easy for Judeans to come up with. It's obvious. It's right there. It was punishment for not being Hebrew enough. Why? Well, remember how cool Israel was? This is the first slut shaming in history. Because Israel was down with Mesopotamia. So remember all of those rules on how to dress? Well, guess who broke them? The Israelites did. Why? Because they were down with Mesopotamia. And Mesopotamia was doing cool things in fashion. And they're like, hey, we like the short skirts too. We're going to wear mini skirts. And the Judeans looked at it and went, that's not in the rules. Moses would be mad. Grandma would be mad. And they're like, dude, man, don't be so uncool. Look at my hair. It's awesome. I'm cutting it. Like, that's not in the rules. Yeah, but, and look at who I'm having sex with. It's awesome. I'm getting really in touch with my body. Like, that's against the rules. Like, Judea, why are you such a stick in the mud, man? You'd have much more fun if you were doing cool things like me. It's like, no, I'm going to follow the rules. And the biggest crime was Israel was a little polycurious. Israel liked 7 minutes in heaven with a different God every other weekend. Israel was like, hey, all gods are the same in the dark, man. It's okay. And they were perfectly willing they worshipped Yahweh. But remember that monolatry part where other gods do exist? They were perfectly willing to set up temples to Phoenician gods, Babylonian gods, Egyptian gods. Why? Because those gods worked. Those gods rocked. Babylon was the richest place on earth. Why would their gods suck? It didn't make any sense. So they set up a little temple to a Babylonian god here and a Phoenician god there. And what's the big deal, man? We're all trying stuff out. I'm just trying to get in touch with my body and my soul. Just trying things out. Hey, if you're a Protestant, you do this. You try different churches. You're First Baptist, you're Southern Baptist, you're Pentecostal. You know, if you're Catholic, maybe you try different parishes. Yeah, there's a parish in town, but you don't really like the priests in there. So you go a couple towns over to those priests. You like them better. Like, we do this all the time. Even in monotheism, you try out different churches, different ways of doing things. It's just in the ancient world, you did that with different gods. And so the Israelites were slutty in their religion, in their worship of their God. They fooled around. They had a couple gods on the side. And Judah, the Judeans, knew this. Because the Israelites, of course, bragged about it. They're like, dude, this is so cool. Dude, I was making out with a Babylonian god. It was awesome. Awesome. And the Judeans are like, no, you shouldn't have done that. Don't tell Mom. She'll be mad. They'll be like, no, you shouldn't have done that. Don't be naughty. And so the explanation for why God allowed Israel to be destroyed was punishment. Oh, you want to play with fire? You're going to get burned. You play with fire, man. So God went, psh. This is what you get. This is what you get for fooling around. This is what you get for playing on the side. This is what you get. And that's the lesson the Judeans took. So what was their answer? To be super Hebrew. To take the laws as they're written and follow them to a T, a literal view of the law. The Judeans were already conservative, meaning they don't change, or if they do change, it's very slow, compared to the Israelites who are more liberal. So the Judeans were already conservative, and now they're ultra conservative. That is, follow the rules right down. If there's a commandment that says go to bed at 8:02, you go to bed at 8:02. You don't go to bed at 9:55. You don't go to bed later. You're in bed at 8:02. But you also don't go to bed at 7:41, 20 minutes early, and say, look, I'm better than the rules. I'm better than the rules, because God gets mad at that too. Yahweh made rules. Follow the rules. If he wanted you to go to bed at 7:41, he would have said, go to bed at 7:41. If you're like, oh, I'm better than God, it gets mad at that too. And I know that because I feel that way. Your tests are pick one, do one answer. If you do all three, I'm not like, woohoo, they did more than they were supposed to. I'm more like, why can't you just follow the rules? I asked you to do one, just do one. Why are you doing this? Because I want you to pick the best. No, that's not part of this. Follow the rules. So Yahweh says the same thing. So if it says go to bed at 8:02, you go to bed at 8:02. Great. So Judea should survive as a small conservative state in a larger empire, the Assyrian Empire. Nothing bad should ever happen to them again. Perfect. Except what happens? Something bad. And what that something bad is the destruction of Jerusalem by the Babylonians in 585. As bad as the destruction of Israel is, this is worse. This is the trauma of traumas. This is the closest the Hebrews came to disappearing. This is it. This is ground zero of Hebrew disasters. Because this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where Jewish culture almost died in its infancy. This is it, right here. Because the Babylonians come in, they had a war with Egypt, they come rolling in, Nebuchadnezzar, the great conqueror, comes rolling in. Remember, the Assyrian Empire broke up into parts, those parts start fighting, Babylon and Egypt get into a war, The Judeans got allied with Egypt, as they usually did for past 500 years. And in comes the Babylonians, and they wreck the place. They're like, you're allies of my enemy, you're my enemy. Boom! And they destroy Jerusalem. They destroy the temple, and they destroy it. There's nothing left of it. They burn it down, they tear it down, there's nothing left. And then they pick up anybody who's worth anybody. Now, I've been a part of several lectures where people have argued how many people did they pick all the people up, but I'm with the scholars who are like, they picked up anybody who had skills, that like top 50%, like the farmers and whatnot. They left them behind, but they're uncultured, uneducated, illiterate peasants. Like, so who cares? That was the idea. But anybody who had skills, they picked up and they moved them to Babylon as slaves. It's not that the people left behind were free. They're still slaves. But in the estimate of the ancient world, they're interchangeable. One person's peasants is another person's peasants. They culturally don't matter, and they'll disappear over time. Like, without the priests, without the rabbis, without the temple, without all the stuff that's the glue that would hold those peasants together, they're just rural country folk that will become whatever is the major culture of the time. And we see this again and again and again and again and again in history, is you get the movers and the shakers of the culture are the people you need. The Romans will do the same thing. And so, boom, this is what's going to happen. This is called the Babylonian captivity. And it's the Babylonian captivity where the Bible is written down, or the Old Testament is started to be written down for the first time, where basically ancient Hebrews become Jews, where the Jewish civilization changes in order to deal with slavery. The slavery in Egypt is legendary. It's mythological. There was no history. It was a memory when they wrote it down. And they're writing it down here 1,000 years later. Like, the book of Moses wasn't written down in 1000 BC. The books of Moses, the books of Exodus, are written down in 550 BC. Psalms was written in 550 BC. Wisdoms, all of the prophet books these are the prophets who are alive at this time. Isaiah, Jeremiah, who's like, God is going to come and wreck us. Daniel, these prophets. These are guys who are alive in 600, 585. They see this happen. This is especially Jeremiah and Isaiah. Isaiah's later. Jeremiah is the one who's seen it happen. Is like, I'm telling you, God is mad and he's coming for us. And in come the Babylonians. This is a trauma. And for half the population, 3/4 of the population, they're like, I'm out. I'm done. Forget this, man. This God sucks. I followed the rules. I did what I'm supposed to do. I was an awesome Hebrew. And then the temple's destroyed. The Ark of Covenant is destroyed. If it's even existed by this point before. The temple's destroyed. The priests are scattered. My city is obliterated. Like, I did what I was supposed to do. And this God still didn't protect me. F him. I'm out. Remember, the first rule of gods is you don't talk about... No. You always talk about gods. The first rule of gods is they protect you. If a God who can't protect you is a useless God. So, 3/4, we don't actually know, of Hebrews in the Babylon captivity stop. They give up. They become Babylonian. They get absorbed. They say, this happened to the 10 lost tribes. It's going to happen to us. I'm going to get in while the getting is good. Because Nebuchadnezzar needs their labor. And he's like, hey, become Babylonian. We'll give you some money. We'll set you up in a business. We'll marry some Babylonian women. It'll be cool. Help us destroy Egypt. Like, it's not just slavery, but it's also an incorporation. We'll take you. We need your labor. Babylon has a problem. They're at war with the Lydians in the north. They're at war. There's this weird thing with the Medes going on in the east. There's the Egyptians, who are their big enemies, in the southwest. So they need the labor anyway. So just sheer slavery isn't going to work. Like, if you prefer slavery, fine, you're a slave. But dude, if you want to be a Babylonian, man, we're cool with that. We'll hook you up. And so there's a huge temptation to become Babylonian. They're the winners. But for that 25% that's left, that core group, they're like, no, man, this is a trauma for them. It's a trauma for all Hebrews. It's a trauma for all Judeans. And so how do they respond? Well, half to 3/4 respond with, I'm out. I'm done. I don't want to be hurt like this anymore by my God. I'm going to find other gods. But for that 25% that's left, they're like, no, man, no, it can't be that we have a bad God. We're the chosen people of the right God. It's got to be something else. Why would he do this to us? And they say he, they wouldn't say it. Why is he doing this to us? Why? And the answer they come up with is, again, a religious answer. And the answer the prophets will come up with, the answer that they come up with is, it's a test. It's a test. See, anybody can love God when the getting is good. When God gives, it's the Job question. It's the Job problem. Of course, it's what Satan says to God. Of course, Job loves you. You've given him everything. He's got a great wife, good kids. He's got plenty of money. Of course he loves you. But take it all away, he's going to curse you. Now, Job doesn't. Job questions God, but never denies him. But for the Hebrews, the Judeans, who have seen what happened to the Israelites that are gone, and now have to wonder, what do we do? To that half, to 3/4, they gave up. They said, no, man, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And they denied God, like Satan said Job would. But for that other 25%, they look at the Job story, which is an older story. It's one of the oldest stories in the Bible. This is why it looks and sounds different than especially the prophet books. And it says, and they say, no, there's got to be a reason. It's a test. When the going gets tough, God wants to know, are you really going to stand by him? Do you really believe in God, Yahweh, or are you just a bandwagon jumper for when things are good? And who does God want as a worshiper? He doesn't want bandwagon jumpers. He wants the good followers, the real followers, the true believers. God would rather play a concert of 2,000 true believers than a stadium of 50,000, I was showing up because it sounds cool kind of people. And so that 25% tries to figure out how to survive in a world where 75% of their compatriots have given up on them, have become Babylonian, dress Babylonian, eat Babylonian foods, cut their hair like Babylonians, start worshiping Babylonian gods. And they don't have a temple anymore. They don't have the Ark of the Covenant. They don't have all this stuff. They don't even have a homeland. They're in a foreign country. And so you start to get Judaism. So the rabbi is more important than the priest. Now the priest does religious ceremonies to get in touch with God and understand what God wants. The rabbi is a teacher. He's no better than other Jews. He's just a little more experienced with the laws of how a Jewish person is supposed to live. And that's what you need if you're in a world that's not Jewish, is not Hebrews. If you're living in the foreign world, you're like, okay, I have a problem. Dad died. How do I bury him? What's the Jewish way of burying him? You need somebody who's like, dude, I don't know any of the ceremonies, but I know what you're supposed to do. And like, dude, that's what I need. I don't need the whole kit and caboodle with the dress and the whole thing, the head thingy and the incense and the no. I just need to know what am I supposed to do. You got to bury him within 24 hours. You got to sit shiva. Your friends will come. It's okay. This is what you're supposed to do. You get the idea that a religious ceremony only needs 10 people. That's huge. A mitzvah, I want to say it is. I could be totally wrong, but I think it's a mitzvah where it's 10 people, 10 Jews. 10 Jews equal a religiously official ceremony. Now that's important. You might go, well, why? Because 10 Jews, 10 people is 2 families. That's it. 10 people are 2 families. So you don't need to bring in all the cousins, all the this, all the that. 10 people is 2 families. You can get 2 families together and have a wedding, a bris, a burial. You can get 2 because most things are going to involve 2s, like the mom and the dad. For the bris, for the naming ceremony for children, for boys, a bar mitzvah. You can get 2 families together, right? Because you have grandparents, and the wedding has 2 sides of the family. You can get 10 people together, and that's the idea. You don't need 1,000. You don't need 10,000. You need 10, and anybody can do that. Anybody can scrounge up 10 friends, 10 family members, 10. And so Judaism develops as this way to survive, for a culture to survive in a world that they are conquered in, that they do not have a homeland in, that they do not have the rights to their body or language in. They don't even necessarily have the ability to worship their God in. How do they survive? And that's this test. We are going to keep going. We're going to believe in Yahweh even when the going gets tough. The tough don't get going. The tough stay right here and stay loyal. Now, how do you know they pass? If it's a test, at some point you need to know if you pass. Even that 25% is going to give up if they don't find out they pass. If it just goes on and on and on and on and nothing happens. And they're like, whoa, dude, all right, this sucks. I'm poor. My kids are uneducated. They can't go to Babylonian schools. Like, what's the whole point of this? When are we going to get our redemption? When are we going to find out if we pass or not? And the answer is Cyrus. We've talked about it. Cyrus shows up in 538. So a generation after, 2 generations, the grandchildren. So there could have been still some old people. They would have been young people when 585 happened who remember Nebuchadnezzar. And they could have survived, and they would be old people by this point. But the grandkids are the ones that are going to be redeemed. Cyrus is going to roll in, and Cyrus is going to set himself up on the throne in Babylon, and he's going to do National Geographic. Who are you? And who are you? And who are you? And who are you? And they're like, we're the Canaanites from Judea who got picked up by Nebuchadnezzar, and now we're here. And he's like, that's pretty bad. Would you like to go back? We would love to go back. You mean to Judea? Yes. Just to show that, I will name you Jews. I will call you Jews, from short for Judea. And they're like, great. We want that name. We don't want to be Canaanite Hebrew peoples anymore. We're cool with being Jews. Why? Because it says right there in the name, we belong in Judea. So Cyrus says, I'll return you. And they say, great, Cyrus. But we have no carts. We have no money. And Cyrus says, I will give you money. I will give you carts. I will give you all that you need to return. And they go, great. Thank you, Cyrus. You're so awesome. But the Babylonians blew up our temple and our city, and it was a cool city. And he says, I will rebuild the city. Well, I won't physically rebuild it, but I'll give you the money and the stone for it. Just send the bill to me. Go forth. I will give you architects. Build a city. Call it whatever you want. And like, Mr. Cyrus, sir, this is great. You're so nice. But you skipped over the really important part. I know we didn't emphasize it, so we're just going to bring it up because you're awesome. But we had a temple in that city. You only had one temple? Yeah. Was it big? Well, yeah, we only have one God, so you silly people. No wonder Nebuchadnezzar beat you up and conquered you. You only had one God, I've got 15 back there. Oh, actually I don't. I've got a Horomazda who counts as two. But yeah, and then the Zoroastrians are over there, and they're like, yeah, there's one. It's complicated, but there are lots of gods, and I'm not. I've got them all on my side. So no wonder you lost, you silly people. And the Hebrews are like, yeah, and you could, anytime you want to stop laughing, Mr. Cyrus, sir, anytime. We know we're silly people. And eventually Cyrus will stop laughing. Give me a drink of water. That's just funny. One God, who would do such a crazy thing? All right, so you have your temple. Would you like it rebuilt? And they go, yes. Yes, but we have no stone. We have no money. And it's huge. We want to rebuild it kind of like how it was. Because, we're nostalgic for the good old days. And Cyrus is like, sure, no problem. I will give you the stone. I will give you the money. I will give you the architects who will build it better. And they're like, great. And that is the temple. That is the west wall that's up today. Cyrus's temple. Now, it will be called the Temple of Herod, because Herod, when the Romans come in, will do lots of additions to it. And there's a problem with the temple being to Cyrus, because Cyrus is a Persian king, and so that's a little weird. Herod is at least a Jewish king, but he's a Jewish king put in charge by the Romans, so that's a little complicated. But that Western Wall that conservative Jews and people pray to today is the Second Temple, the temple the Romans will obliterate. And that's what Cyrus will help rebuild. Now, he doesn't physically rebuild it. He just gives the money, the architecture, the architects, the stonework. He gives the blank check and says, I will help you do this. You send it my way. The stuff is paid for. Don't worry about it. Cyrus is the passing of the test. Cyrus is the redemption. And how do we know? Because people went up to Cyrus and said, Cyrus, can I go back too? I'm Jewish. And he says, you don't look like those people. You're wearing weird Babylonian clothes. And yeah. And he's like, what are you eating there? Babylonian pork chops. Do you guys eat pork? No, you don't eat pork? That's weird, dude. That's weird, but okay. You were eating pork. Your hair ain't cut like them. You don't wear their clothes. Who are you married to? This Babylonian woman right here. And why are you talking to me in Babylonian? Because it's the only language I know. You're not these people. You're Babylonian, and I conquered you. You're conquered. Stay conquered. You don't get to go back. You stay right here and be conquered, and you will enjoy it because I conquered you. I am Cyrus, and I'm awesome because I'm the man. Remember a lecture on the Persians where I was told call the man, because I'm the man. Right, I'm the man? And the Hebrews like, woo, you're the man. You're so much better than our crappy kings. And Isaiah is standing there like, woohoo, see, told you, he's the man. He's got God's right hand. He's a Messiah. He's sending us back. See? Don't mess with Cyrus. Dude, you're awesome. And they all thumbs up to each other. And Cyrus is like, yeah, I got other things to do. Just go back. Go. It's cool. We're cool. Go back. It's over. I got other things to do. I got to go conquer Central Asia now. So Cyrus is the proof. And so Judah will be rebuilt as a small kingdom and as part of a larger empire. It doesn't revolt against the Persians like Egypt will. In fact, Jews, will work with the Persians, will join the Persian army in large numbers, will be jacked into the Persian Empire and the Persian economy in a way Judean culture never was before. They're down for this. They're part of this. And it's a system that they will recreate in the Greek and then especially in the Roman Empire. So, And that's the world of this destruction and then recreation. So we are talking about what's left. So who are the Jews? The Jews are what is left of these two major disasters, the destruction of Israel in 725 and the destruction of Judah, Jerusalem in 585. And those last core of people who stay loyal to their cultural roots. And it's that core that becomes the foundation, the seed of modern Judaism. It is going to be in that cauldron, in that crucible of defeat, of how do we survive this disaster, these twin disasters, that you get these new rules, the prophets, the monotheism, the synagogue, and because we can't build more temples, so we're going to have synagogues, and the idea of the rabbi, and all of these little things, these little changes that are major changes, and they are going to give Judaism the flexibility to survive in a way Carthage, who's much more powerful than the Hebrews ever were, doesn't. How the Gauls, who are way tougher than the Hebrews ever were, are going to be destroyed and assimilated by the Romans. How these other peoples are going to be conquered by somebody else and disappear, whereas the Hebrews become Jews and the Jews continue. Even though there are going to be lots more disasters in their future. The idea that the disaster is a test and all you have to do is persevere, generation after generation, that sooner or later we will be rewarded, gives this culture that flexibility to survive which other cultures simply don't. The Babylonians will disappear. The ancient Persians will disappear. Now, modern Persians are a little different, and that's an important distinction. Persians are still around. They're just different from the Achaemenid Persians. You know, they don't worship Ahura Mazda and all that kind of stuff, but that's a whole different, but they are Persian-speaking people. The way lots of these people in the Middle East are gone. Phoenicians are gone. So, the way these people disappear when the Hebrews 2,500 years later are still around. And that is the strength of that culture. That is the strength of this perseverance. And it is in disaster, surviving disaster, that they find the elegant strength of one of the world's great religions and great cultures. So thank you.